Hi, good morning, afternoon and evening to everyone that's joined us today, and thank you so much for your time. My name is Corinne and I'm a Regional Recruitment Manager for the Oxford MBA. If you could just pop in your question box whether you can hear me or not, that would be fantastic. So I know that you can hear me and I'm not just talking to us in the room. Thank you so much in advance for doing that. Great, thank you. Some messages are coming through. Thanks for that. So I also lead on some of our gender and diversity initiatives at the school here, and you'll be hearing from some of our current female MBA students today. So congratulations to all admits and offer holders that have joined us, and also welcome to Stage 3 applicants as well, and best of luck with your applications ahead of Friday's update. So I hope you'll find today informative and helpful for you planning your time here in Oxford, and a fact-finding mission to you as well. So we look forward to welcoming some of you from this September. I'd like to introduce you to our current MBA students that are joining our panel today. So I'm pleased to be joined by Mahi, Alana, Anike and Sarah. Mahi and Alana are also co-chairs of our Oxford Women's Leadership Alliance, which I'll be sharing some more information with you today. Throughout the webinar, they'll share their experiences and highlights of their Oxford journey so far, and we'll also hold a Q&A session at the end. So any questions you do get along the way during the webinar today, please pop them in the question box, and we'll try and answer as many as we can get to today. Otherwise, we can follow up with you post-webinar as well. So over to our panelists. If you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell us why you came to Oxford, and if you can, one word that sums up your time at Oxford so far, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Anike. I'm from Nigeria, and I came to Oxford because I was trying to grow in my career. And one word that summarizes my experience here, it's been very inspiring.
Thank you. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from San Jose, California. I decided to come to Oxford because I was previously working in marketing for a Wi-Fi company, but I really wanted to get a broader business background and with an international focus. So that's why I ended up coming to Oxford. And one word to describe it so far has probably got to be growth.
Mahi?
Hi, my name is Mahi. I'm from Bombay, India. I think I came to Oxford because, one, I wanted a one-year MBA. I wanted to be in a very, very international class, which Oxford truly is. And third, I wanted to switch industries. And it's a little strange because usually people come from another industry to move into social impact, but I kind of have had an opposite kind of journey here, and it's really worked out well so far. And I think one word to describe my time at Oxford would probably be dynamic. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Alana. I grew up in California, lived in New York before coming here. Before coming to Saïd, I was working on a social enterprise. So two main reasons why I chose Saïd was one, the focus on entrepreneurship, and two, the social impact focus. And one word I would use to describe my experience has been really busy.
Thank you very much, and you'll hear from our panelists throughout the webinar. So in terms of the business school, this is the Saïd Business School, the more modern side of your Oxford life. This will be where you spend your typical 9 to 5 weekday. So within lectures, group work sessions, one-to-one study time, through careers presentations as well. So on site we have our lecture theatres, our study rooms, a library, which you can see on the first floor above our reception there, quiet working spaces, and our career development centre, plus dining facilities as well. We're a department of Oxford University, and we are embedded within this world-class community. In terms of Oxford, so what you might picture Oxford being, this is our Radcliffe camera in some of our colleges. So this is your other half of your life at Oxford with us. So you'll be a member of the university, so you have access to all of the colleges and libraries and everything that they provide you with. You can join the societies and sports teams within your college and dine with the wider community, where sometimes you could be sat next to a poet or philosopher, so really finding out how they think and how they work, so very diverse across the Oxford living landscape. And I'm sure our panelists will share some of the diverse experiences they've had with you today as well. And in terms of the class profile on the Oxford MBA, here are some of the statistics for this year's cohort. So we're proud to have 44% female students, which places us at the top with non-US leading schools out there. There's a lot we've been doing within this space, which we will also share with you today. I thought I'd ask Sarah and Anike, would you like to share any of your experiences with the diversity that you've experienced at Oxford so far?
Sure. So I think you don't fully comprehend just how diverse it is until your first day and you're really immersed in the program. You meet so many people from so many really different places and different industries and lifestyles to you. I think something that exemplifies that is when you're first put into your study groups. So you're in a group of 6 people, and for the most part, everyone is of a different nationality, comes from a different industry. So it's really great to not only make friends with all of these different people, but also work on class projects and business cases with them and see how everybody's different backgrounds really come together.
Yeah, so I think for me, I already went to school in Europe. I went to school in Ireland and in France, and I've been to school in the UK as well. But I tell people that this is the first time that I'm in a class with people of so many different nationalities. And it's actually quite refreshing because I'm meeting people from countries that I've never met people from before. And like Sarah mentioned as well, the diversity of people in your groups allows you to have such a rich educational experience because you're learning about their countries, you're learning about their cultures, and you're learning about the industries that they've also worked in. So for me, like this has been like an amazing experience given the diversity of a class profile.
Thank you very much. And in terms of some of our OBNs, which are our Oxford Business Networks and Alliances here at the school, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about this before Mahi and Alana talk a bit more about our Oxford Women's Leadership Alliance. So during your time at Oxford, you'll have the opportunity to become involved in the school's OBNs. These are comprised of our current MBA students, some of our executive MBA students, our MFE and MLF students. So these are consolidated into 7 core sectors, which you can see on your screen now. They're primarily outward looking, so you will liaise with the student clubs and networks across the university to reflect diversity of the cohort in initiatives from the Career Centre as well as the faculty and the university centres. So there are plenty of different people that you could be getting involved with to focus on a key area of interest of yours. They are led by our co-chairs with the support of a committee and students who are elected to play a role in the leadership of an OBN. And you have the opportunity to enrich your learning experience within one of these key interest areas and build relationships with like-minded people. And also, we streamlined a lot of our MBNs a couple of years ago because we had around 30. So in the school's 5-year plan, what we decided to do was to focus on 2 of these as alliances. So they are more formal networks that we have here at the school. These are to help promote our commitment to gender diversity and also Africa. So these 2 alliances were formed and they're led by our MBA students and supported by the school to focus on these 2 elements and to help us with these activities and our journey with reaching gender diversity and also improving the economy within Africa. And in terms of our Oxford Women's Leadership Alliance, I'd like to ask Alana and Mahi to share some more information about how they got involved with the Alliance and also some of the activities that they've been working on so far.
So we can go first. So I joined the Oxford Women's Alliance just because I'm really passionate about understanding more about women in business and what they did to kind of achieve their success. As I mentioned, like I had worked on a few different social enterprises before coming here, and one was a digital storytelling platform for female founders of color. So I am really interested and fascinated in hearing the stories of women who kind of beat the odds and building businesses and scaling them with like limited means and despite certain obstacles. So I knew that this would allow me an opportunity to continue to build a network of women who were within that space, and also just learn a lot from them. So, you know, in addition to doing that, it's also just been a great way to meet other women within the cohort. So Mahi and I, in addition to Lily, who works closely with us, we kind of divided our roles among this committee into events, partnerships with the wider community, and careers. So we work together to develop events centered around those three themes. And it's, again, just a great way to, one, be able to reach out to the non-Oxford community and build relationships with women, and then also just building relationships internally with women within the school. So I found it to be like personally rewarding, and also just a great, you know, networking opportunity as well. So it's been really positive for me. And because of the busyness of the program, I primarily investing my time in this, but I think it's been, again, like one of the most rewarding things I've done at Oxford.
Yeah, I think just adding to what Alana said, I think for me, being part of the Alliance, I think gender equality is just something that's just very fundamental, and I think it's pervasive across, you know, income, backgrounds, education, no matter countries, no matter where you are. We as women do face certain disparities, and I think that was just my fundamental reason for being part of this group. I think it's very open, it's very flexible. I think it's been left to the three co-chairs to kind of set the agenda for this year in whatever way that we wanted. And I think a big part of that was actually understanding what our cohort wanted us to kind of put up and what they wanted to see, and then kind of like, I don't know, formulate our events or anything that we put up based on that, and on those themes. So I think this year, some of the things that we're actually doing are pretty interesting. So we're starting off with an International Women's Day kind of panel event, which is still in the pipeline. We're getting some really interesting speakers to speak on gender and diversity, and how they've actually like paved their way through their careers, what obstacles they faced, and things that really the wider MBA can relate to. And for us this year, a big kind of aspect has been male allyship, because without that, it's really hard to push the agenda forward. And we're finding small ways to kind of include men in this agenda. So whether it's events which are kind of absolutely gender neutral, or certain discussion series that we're going to be having in the second week of Feb, which are small brunch series that we're going to be grouping men and women together to discuss certain themes in a very informal yet purposeful environment. And then we're also planning to host a diversity in tech panel with the careers theme here in Oxford. So there's a lot of exciting things happening just around careers as well as personal and professional growth.
Thank you very much for that. In terms of some of the engagement with the school, so we have a fantastic careers team who support you for a 21-month period during your study here, pre and post that as well. So here are some of the events that they ran in the last year. One point to note is the talent development framework is something that runs every year, but it is open to all students. Students, men and women, are available to join the sessions. These focus on issues of interest to women specifically, but so around building confidence, leadership potential, imposter syndrome, work-life balance. There are a number of different themes that come through that series of events. And the programme draws on expertise not only within the school and the wider university, but we bring in our industry advisors as well to bring their real working life experience into the classroom from a range of sectors, so that it appeals to everybody and people can have the chance to really ask them questions about a particular interest they have within that career path as well. Something else we work on closely here is our Inspiring Women series with our Associate Dean of our Executive Degrees and MBA programme, Kathy Harvey. So we are working on a London event for the springtime at the moment, but these are a programme of events and networking talent development sessions. And they're really designed to inspire and promote women's professional and academic development through our community of students and alumni that we have here. So we'll be in touch for those that are more local to London in due course with our In Conversation With events with a couple of high-profile female leaders. Also, we're looking at running a Google workshop, which has been running for some time, #IamRemarkable, which is focused around self-promotion. So we'll be looking at bringing that in-house for our current female MBA students, but also hosting that for some of our UK-based admits as well. So we look forward to sharing some information with you in the next couple of months around that. So there are lots and lots of activities and events I'm sure you can see from some of the things we've shared with you today that you can get involved in with your time at Oxford. So for now, I'd like to hand over to our panel and to answer some of the questions that you have asked during the webinar. But to kick that off, I'd like to pose some questions. So Sarah, if you could start, please, by telling us about your journey so far with the Forte Foundation and the benefits that you gained through this relationship.
Yeah,
Thank
so my relationship with Forte started actually before I applied to Oxford. I attended one of their networking events in San Francisco, and it was there I met with an Oxford representative who told me I should apply. So really it all kind of started there for me. And then once I was accepted to Oxford, I was also made a Forte Fellow. And through that, I was able to go to the Forte Leadership Conference in Chicago last summer. This is a yearly event that they hold, and it was a really great opportunity not only to network with people in other MBA programs and the different representatives from companies they have come for the career fair, but there's also about 20 of us from Oxford there. So it was a really great way to meet other students before the Oxford program began. So it was a really great experience, and I recommend it.
Thank you, Sarah. And something I should mention for all female admits, we will be in touch in March with you regarding the Forte conference this year, which is in LA in June. We do offer travel stipend and conference fees payable as well. So you will hear from me in March regarding that. But if you have any other questions, please do feel free to ask me. And do pose your questions, so we can see questions coming in. So please do ask anything that's on your mind that you'd like to be answered today by our alumni and by our student panel here. Anike, I'd like to pose a question to you. So you're a mother, so
Yes.
if you could share your journey and advice to any mothers that are coming to Oxford, that would be great.
Yeah, so I remember listening to this webinar last year, particularly because there was another mother on the panel. But for me, I think that one of the greatest things about me being here was the support I got from the school. So when I got my offer, I wasn't very sure I was going to take it. However, I got a scholarship that allowed me to come here, and so I didn't have to worry about that. But I have two kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I remember that even right up till the day I left home, I was very torn about coming to Oxford because I knew that I wasn't able to bring my kids. But I made this decision after doing a lot of research and also talking to MBA students who are mothers last year. And for me, it made perfect sense for me to leave my kids behind because I had a great support system. So I have my mother and my mother-in-law, my husband, who more or less rotate with looking after my kids. So I don't have to worry too much about that. But another thing I always try to do is make sure that every day or every other day I have video calls with them. I know my kids miss me a lot. And so I make sure that when I have any free time, like during Christmas, we had like a 3-week break. I spent the whole 3 weeks with my kids. So for me, it was, making sure I had as much quality time with them as possible. But given how busy the MBA is and how intense it is, I know that it would be very difficult for me to be able to balance both my role as a mother and as a full-time MBA student. And I've also noticed that I'm actually the only mother on the course, which is also very unique. And it also goes to show that it's a very hard decision for any mom to make. But if you have the right support structures around you, and if you do your research, I'm sure you can also make it work.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. This question could be open to a number of you actually. So Alana, if you'd like to start, if that's okay. How has your experience on the Oxford MBA so far supported your social impact passion?
No, absolutely. So as I mentioned, being involved in the Women's Alliance has been a way for me to kind of continue this passion of kind of understanding how women of color who are entrepreneurs have successfully scaled their businesses. And I think it is challenging to obviously maintain social enterprise while being a full-time MBA student. So I've had to leave those kind of businesses on hold for a bit while I'm pursuing the MBA, which has also been a difficult decision because initially I was really focused on scaling, and now I've realized that, again, given certain support that I have back home, there's a way for me to kind of balance that and make sure that I'm successful in my MBA and still leaving that opportunity for when I come back. So at this point, when I entered the MBA program, I came with an open mind in terms of what I wanted to do next. And at this point, I'm still exploring a couple of different options, but I know that this interest in the social impact space will always be part of my career story. So I think there are many different ways of kind of reaching a certain point, and I think right now I'm exploring like what that path might look like through a couple of different avenues. Trying to be as open as possible.
Thank you. And Mahi, would you like to share your experience and how the program's really helped with your social impact passion, but also you mentioned about career shift as well. So if you could explain that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so I actually come from a complete social impact background. I started off working at a grassroots NGO in India after my undergrad, which I did in the UK. And then I worked at a social impact consultancy. And then I realized that what I really lacked were simple business skills. And I think eventually my long-term goal in life is to be an entrepreneur. And that will definitely have a social angle, yet it will make money. And I think that's something that you need to learn how to do. And when I came to Oxford, I actually signed up for the Impact Lab, and I've been part of it. But I realized there was, with the Women's Alliance and everything going on, I knew there was too much on my plate. Yet Oxford was really flexible in terms of allowing me to participate in Impact Lab as and when my schedule allowed. So I still attend, one-off events and sessions that they host. But at the same time, I was able to, find a job in the tech space, which I'm really passionate about. And alongside that, there's a bunch of projects on the side that I've been working on. So I worked on a climate change playbook with one of the professors here, which was actually presented at the UN Climate Change Convention in Madrid this year. And then also with GoTo, we're again working on climate change and working in groups on the same thing. So I think the thing about Oxford is you can pursue really whatever you want. But there will be tones of social impact, and you can tap into that as much as you want, or stay out of it as much as you want. But it's good to know that it's always there whenever you need it. And eventually, I think just going forward in any career, that's super helpful.
Thank you very much. And I know a couple of questions that come in regarding Forte. So specifically about if you're automatically considered for it or if you need to select it. So it is one of our scholarships that you will automatically be selected for. So we do still have spaces available for the scholarship this year. So if you are a stage 3 applicant, then you will find out after you have been awarded a place here. So the scholarship committee does sit following your acceptance onto the program. And in terms of the conference, so every female admit is offered a place at the conference. So not just those that get awarded the official designated fellowship. So we will be in touch with everybody that has applied, that is female, in regards to the conference in March. So I hope that helps answer the questions around Forte. We've got quite a few questions coming in here, so I'm just going to pop you on hold for 30 seconds so we can review those and come back with a response. So please do bear with us, and we'll be back again very, very shortly. Thank you everyone for your patience and for the great questions that are coming in. Please do continue to send those in. So I think we'll start with the question around social impact, and in terms of how many people, how many of the Oxford students are interested in this, and how supportive it is. So who would like to pick up with that?
Yeah, I can take it. So it's hard to put a number at how many people in the MBA are interested in social impact. But so we have 3 labs. One is finance lab, one is impact lab, and one is the consulting development program. And in the impact lab alone, there are 50 students who are involved and are actively participating in it, which is a really, really high number. And this is after a handful have also not made the cut, only because the class was oversubscribed. So I think there's a very, very strong focus for impact in the MBA. There's a ton of people from different backgrounds, whether it's like working in multilateral organizations or social enterprises or even social impact consulting or impact investing. So there's a lot of people from that background, and there's a lot of people who want to make switches into that career. One example, we've had an impact investing masterclass. So there was a basic level and an advanced level, which was like day-long workshops. The Foundry hosts, a bunch of events as well. So you'll have different themes. So there'll be at the beginning of the year, I remember there was a small event on AI for climate change. So there's just always something going around, whether it's in the MBA, whether it's at Saïd or even outside Saïd at the larger university. And that's, I think, something that students also need to be a little more proactive about when it comes to things in the larger university. So yeah, there's just plenty of opportunities here. Yeah.
And I should also mention that because we have the Skull Center for Social Entrepreneurship, they also have a variety of programs that they run every term. Last term, for example, I did the Skull Venture Lab, and that was basically taking us through how to start a social enterprise from scratch to scale, more or less. And we have the opportunity to interact with social entrepreneurs within the Oxford network and also within the UK as well. We also had a series with the Skull Center for Social Entrepreneurship that had an entrepreneur in residence, a social entrepreneur in residence, Mike Quinn. So there are so many different opportunities for you to interact with people who work in the space, both in your lectures and also through guest speakers who come to the school as well.
Thank you for that. And coming to another question here, again around entrepreneurship while we're on that theme. So how has your view of entrepreneurship changed with the knowledge that you've acquired through the MBA?
I guess I could think that one. I mean, I guess there are two schools of thought around entrepreneurship. Like one is you experiment with something, you kind of iterate and just make it work, and you kind of take the dive into working on something, and you kind of take the risk. And then the other is that perhaps you get a bit of experience, you revisit maybe the idea of pursuing a business once you have a certain amount of experience under your belt. And I think that either is achievable. I do think like there are, as Mahi mentioned, there are quite a few people in the cohort that are interested in entrepreneurship, social enterprises. I know that's a big draw of Saïd program. And I do think that coming back to the theme of being open to how and when you pursue entrepreneurship, I think that's really important. And I think before I came here, I had, again, interacted with a lot of women who were building companies, and a lot of them had financial constraints that came into play, and so they were working full time while pursuing a business. And I think that's pretty similar to what we're doing here in terms of the amount of time that it takes to be in the MBA and then to think about building something at the same time can be quite a lot. But I do think what the MBA has taught me is just that there are many different avenues of pursuing startup or building your own startup. And I don't think that there's one right way to go about it. So I think that it's just taught me to be a bit more open to how I approach the idea of building a business.
Thank you very much for that. Another question here is regarding whether there's any community engagement opportunities on campus or through the Women's Alliance that focus on supporting or mentoring younger women.
Yeah, so I think another thing that's on the agenda for us is to actually host a mentorship program. And I think by community, I think I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but for us, it's the MBA is mentoring undergrads, and then the EMBA is mentoring MBAs. And this was a program that was run last year by last year's Alliance, and it was actually a really, really big hit. So I think in Trinity, once the madness of Hillary ends, that's something that's in the pipeline for us, and we're really excited about it.
Thank you for that. I see quite a few other questions coming through. So again, I'll just pop you on hold while we can just discuss those and choose which ones we'll be able to answer in time remaining. So do bear with us a few more seconds. Thank you so much for your patience again. So a few of the questions we've got here, one around engaging alumni and how the students have currently been able to do that within the program. So your advice on that, please.
I think for myself at least, reaching out to alumni has been very open and very easy. There's no structured way of doing it because you reach out to alumni. Everyone reaches out to alumni for different reasons, and you want to reach out to different alumni. So I think LinkedIn is actually super, super useful. Alumni are very, very responsive. They're very easy to reach out to, so you can actually just write to them on LinkedIn, and there's a 90% chance that they're going to reply. I don't think I've ever not got a response as yet. And the second avenue to do this is careers. So the careers team is super helpful, actually. You just need to reach out to them and ask them what you need, because they're actually catering to so many students at the same time. So they don't really know what individual students might need. So if you're interested in a particular firm that may not have a structured hiring, you can just ask someone from careers, like, do you know anyone who works here? Who's the best person I can reach out to? Sometimes they even like give them a heads up and give you their email, or they'll say, just reach out to them on LinkedIn. They'll be open to reaching out to you. So I think engaging with alumni is something that you need to do yourself. It's not going to be given to you. And there's also there's an Oxford alumni network as well that we all
Yes.
get to join.
On LinkedIn.
So
as
on
well.
LinkedIn. So definitely join that when you guys get here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, and I think the alumni network also hosts events in different cities that you can then go to. I know there's one in London and as well, so there's options.
Yeah, and through the Oxford Business Alumni Networks, that connects you with alumni across the university with an interest in business, but also people that have done executive programs here as well. There is an online community you can join, and we have regional chapters around the world. So these are led by our students. Quite a lot, I think, are led by MBA students. If there is a need for it and a willingness to lead on events, and also if there's 50 or more alumni in a city or a region, that constitutes being able to set up one of the chapters. And that's something our alumni team work closely with our alumni to help support as well. Another question which has come through, which is quite interesting, is around what you can do before the MBA to help you prepare or maximise your time during the programme. Obviously, it's only 1 year, it's a very busy time. So what has helped you all to mentally prepare, physically prepare? Any advice you have for that?
So I think the school gives you a lot of opportunities to start preparing early. There's the Wall Street Prep program, which they give you in advance. So for anyone who doesn't feel as confident in the accounting and finance side, like I did, there's great classes you can take to kind of feel like you're getting up to speed before you actually enter the program. The careers team also has a lot of career exercises you can go through beforehand. So I think it's just helpful to start thinking about what you want out of the program as early as possible. So they have a lot of resources online for you to start thinking through that, and so you can kind of hit the ground running as soon as you get here. I don't know about physically.
Yeah, I think just embrace like the chaos when you get here, because nothing can prepare you for that. It's a lot going on, especially the first 2 weeks. So just go with it. I think just enjoy it and don't think too much about what's happening. I think
I would also add that particularly if you're interested in careers in consulting, strategy consulting, or management consulting, it really makes sense to actually start working on case prep even before you apply. Because when you get here and you're struggling with going to classes and your readings and also trying to prep for interviews, it can be very distracting. So I wish it was something I did more before I got here, because really it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and have your CV ready before you come here. You won't have time to work on it. So prepare that.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on Anike's point, I agree. Consulting was something that I was open to, but didn't consider seriously until I got here. And then I realized, oh, this sounds really interesting. However, the reality is when it comes to interviewing, you're competing against people who've been preparing for quite a while. So if it's something that you're even vaguely considering, I think it's worth it to start working on cases as early as possible, because you really will have very limited time to work on that throughout the term. And I would also say one lesson for me was like, don't discount yourself from anything. I think I had been swayed away from consulting because I knew how competitive it was, and I just didn't want to add an extra layer of stress and chaos. However, I do think, and so for me, it came as a bit of a surprise when I got an interview and then had to scramble and start working on cases at the last minute. So I would say, don't discount yourself from anything because it's competitive or it seems challenging. I think again, to Mahi's point, just embrace the chaos and also just embrace being really open as well. And if you're someone who's open to exploring different career paths, I think take time in the beginning to really explore different options and don't discount anything.
Lots of great advice there for you, so thank you. A specific question for Anike here. Almost halfway through your MBA, do you feel you could have managed to bring in your children along to stay in Oxford with you, or have you made the right decision to move to Oxford on your own?
I made the right decision because now I can give my 100%. to the program. I can, make sure that I'm fully immersed in all the student activities that are happening on campus. It's something that I would struggle to do otherwise. And also looking at all the other MBAs who have kids, I noticed that all the men who are on the MBA have wives who are like full-time moms. Because like the school, like for example, like kids in primary school finish at 3 here, and there are also other struggles that like you have to deal with that I would have found very difficult, given that I knew that my partner couldn't come to join me in Oxford. So I know I made the right decision, and I think my whole family is convinced that I also made the right decision. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for your honesty there. So I think it's getting towards the end of the webinar now. We've got a few more questions that have come in, and we will follow up with you post webinar on these. Please feel free to connect with us through LinkedIn and email as well. But thank you so much for the engaging questions that have come through today. In terms of next steps, so you will receive the webinar in due course. So you will have the recording of that to listen back to. Also, if you do need to connect with me or ask me any questions, then my email is on the screen now, but you will have that when I follow up with you next week as well. So I hope you found today's webinar useful in helping to prepare for your time here in Oxford, and to help you think of all the different opportunities there are before you come, as well as when you're here. Have a lovely day ahead or evening ahead, wherever you are in the world, and thank you from our panel today.